And may we say good afternoon to everyone. For those of you in YouTube land, we'd like to welcome you to the November 3rd, 2020 Township of Dummer Council meeting. We welcome everyone and remind you that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. And the closed session of the meeting will not be live streamed because there is not going to be a closed session. We'll be holding the meeting as though we are in the council chambers and follow the same regular policies. Please raise your hand if you'd like to speak on a matter. And when I call for the vote, I'll call all those in favor and all those opposed. Let's call the roll now. First of all, Deputy Mayor Moher.
Here.
Councillor Watt. Councillor Landsman. And Councillor Watson. Thank you very much. Our staff in attendance, our temporary CAO, Martina Chade-Hartwig is here. Martina, welcome. Our fire chief, Chuck Pedersen, is here. Chuck, you'll be here somewhere, perhaps in the background. Our senior administrative assistant is Vanessa Sweeting. She's along. And pushing all the buttons is Nicole Zenner. So welcome, everyone, and we'll make this meeting as efficient as we possibly can. So with all council in attendance, I will call the meeting to order at exactly 5:02. We respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and we offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and their teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Now, in this final Douro-Dummer Council meeting before Remembrance Day, I thought I would pay tribute to the men and women who served our country and our community. The Remembrance Day ceremony in Warsaw has played a major role in our township for many, many years. Every year at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we gather at the cenotaph in Warsaw to honor all who have fallen. Together, we observe a moment of silence to mark the sacrifice of so many and to acknowledge the courage of those who still serve. This year, Douro-Dummer, like many places worldwide, had to find a different way to remember. COVID-19 has changed our way of doing things, but it has not changed our heartfelt desire to remember the sacrifices of so many. Our formal Remembrance Day service, by the way, will be held virtually this year, and we invite everyone to join us on the township's YouTube channel at 10:45 on Wednesday, November 11th. We're also pausing this afternoon in memory of our own Joe Sullivan, who passed away on November 1st at the age of 100. Joe was a veteran of the Second World War. He was a communication operator on D-Day at Juno Beach, perhaps the most important battle of World War II. People talk about heroes, and our Joe was, without doubt, a hero, not just for the part he played in preventing a new world order decades ago, but also for how he lived his life with such dignity and grace. His hometown of Douro and his country of Canada is a better place because of the late Joe Sullivan. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. In honor of all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and in honor of the memory of our own Joe Sullivan, please join us for 2 minutes of silence.
A little bit of technical
Hey,
difficulty.
hold on.
Oh, very good. Mr. Mayor, are you able to hear and see us?
I am perhaps hearing and seeing you. I have for some reason, been kicked off the Zoom feed. I'm trying to restore it right now.
Oh, no, we can still hear and see you on the Zoom feed.
Okay. If that's the case, I can hear you, but I just can't see you. More technical glitches to deal with. Okay, we will continue with our meeting then while I try to reestablish my video feed. We would like to remind anyone, if you have a pecuniary interest, to speak up now. And Carl, I'm going to have to turn it over to you to chair the meeting until I can restore my video because I can't see anybody.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, then. Okay, but the closure of pecuniary interest, I assume nothing has been identified. So that could be noted in the minutes. Agenda, adoption of the agenda for November, this meeting tonight. Councillor Watt, second by.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, before you move that motion, I do have a change to the agenda that I'd like to bring forward.
Sure.
Thank you. There was a closed session item on the agenda. I do not have the information required for that closed session. It's still being processed. So I would like to remove the closed session item.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, move the amended agenda. Councillor Watt, and seconded by Councillor Watson. And all in favor? Show of hands. Those against? Carried. Okay, business arising of previous minutes. Any items? Okay, now we're into other business and staff reports. I guess, Chuck, you're going to fill us in on the self-contained breathing apparatus 9.1. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. So yeah, we were made aware of an opportunity for cost savings from 2 vendors. So the timing may be right to move the replacement of our SCBA ahead a year for a few reasons. There is opportunity right now to join larger orders that are going on for cost savings of an estimated $50,000 for the purchase itself. These new packs also have an option that we have included to have 1 thermal imaging camera that we use, and these are currently not integrated into our packs, but the new packs would have an integration option. So our plan would be to put 1 of these thermal imaging cameras at each station in an officer pack. And the reason I mention that is that we have 2 thermal imaging cameras that were donated to us in 1999. And we were just notified this fall that the batteries will no longer be supported for those. They're specialty batteries, and they will be ending production at the end of this year. Those were over $10,000 to replace them, and we have 2 of those as well. The new ones into the modules are much cheaper because it's part of the pack, and the batteries are run off the actual pack themselves, are not separate. We also have we have a pack out right now that's trying to get fixed. We're looking at a new module. We have another pack that has a similar problem that is currently in service. We're waiting for the first one to be repaired. We have a couple of heads-up displays that need to be replaced as well, and we are scheduled for a recertification this fall. So if we're able to move this purchase ahead, we may be able to shuffle some things around, and there might be another $4,000 in savings with repairs and recertification. So that moves us up to $75,000 in nearly future savings on this acquisition. So a little bit of background: our current SCBA was built to the 1992 NFPA standards. We did have an upgrade. So there was firefighter down alarms that needed to be upgraded to meet the 2007 standard, and that was done to those packs at that time. But the packs have been discontinued as new replacements for a little bit of time now, and the vendors only guarantee service and support for 15 years, and we're almost into 19 years now. So we are getting to that stage of replacement. The deputy chief chaired a committee made up of firefighters and officers that represented all 4 of our stations, included firefighters and officers, and he had a comprehensive 10-page scope and documentation of the evaluations. So I think that they've done their due diligence for our replacement plan. And as the report indicates, the vendor that we've recommended, they've recommended to me, and I agree. 5 other municipalities are currently using that pack, and we are using that same manufacturer, a much older edition, currently as well. So when we get into auto aid and mutual aid and air bottle support and familiarization with each other's equipment, that's always a bonus to have that if we can. So that's kind of where we're standing at with that, and that's why the recommendation is before you, and it would be moving our replacement up 1 year. It's scheduled for 2021, but we would do a commitment letter in order to take advantage of those savings. And I do have a letter from AJ Stone indicating that they would offer that to us if we were able to provide that letter of commitment before the end of 2020. So I know that's a lot of technical stuff, but I'm happy to answer any questions, or hopefully be able to answer your questions.
Sure. Any questions for Chuck or Fire Chief? Okay, Sheila, go ahead.
Yes, if nobody had any questions, I would make a motion that the recommendation be followed, and I think that's a very wise thing to do, Chuck.
Okay.
Thank you.
For seconder, Councillor Watt.
Yes, I'll second that. And yeah, very good. Any savings we can make in these times and getting on board. We've talked about this many times. It's a great thing, and I appreciate your input in this.
Yep. Discussion, Councillor Watson.
No, I was actually just going to second the motion.
Okay.
I also support the recommendation, so we're good.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, show of hand, please. Those against? Seeing none, that's carried.
Okay,
Are you
Carl,
back,
I
Mr.
am.
Mayor?
I am back in action. I do apologize to everyone. I lost a little wire feed out of the back and I just lost my video feed. So I got it plugged in again. And thank you for
very
that
much.
check. It is indeed nice to save money whenever possible here for our ratepayers. Okay, moving ahead to 9.2, the proposed update to Director's Technical Rules under the Clean Water Act. Martina, you have something?
I
Sheila,
do.
I see your hand in the air. Before, Sheila, did you want to say something?
I was, yes, through you, Your Worship. I just, did we approve the minutes of the last meeting?
No, we haven't gotten to the, they were skipped. So I was just going to bring that up before I started my
okay.
review.
Sorry.
We're on the same page.
Terrible.
Okay, well, you go ahead with that report and then we'll move to the minutes, Martina.
Sure. So the report that's before you is regarding some technical rule changes to the Clean Water Act. Through the Otonabee Peterborough Source Protection Authority, we've been made aware of a posting on the Environmental Registry of Ontario. A report from Meredith Carter, she's the manager of the Watershed Management Program, to the members of the Protection Authority dated October 15th was attached to this report. The report highlighted the changes already in place via Phase 1, which took place in 2017, and then Phase 2, they took place, the changes were put in place in Phase 1, but they take effect in 2021 to 2023. And then there are further changes proposed for Phase 2. The report only highlights changes that have an effect on the members of the protection area. In reviewing the proposed amendments, they will not have effect on most township operations, but they may affect the application of road salt. While it's essential that source drinking water be protected and monitoring, the regulations need to be right-sized prior to their application to ensure that they will meet the needs of the community and the activities they seek to control. Further, these changes will increase the number of significant drinking water threats and affected properties, and the exact count will need to be determined through threat verification activities. These threat verification activities will take additional staff time and may increase costs for member municipalities. As noted above, the township would like to make sure that water resources are protected, safe, and available for generations to come, while ensuring that the application of regulations are consistent and meet local needs. There is a recommendation that's before you. It's that the report to be received and further that the following comments be submitted via the Environmental Registry of Ontario. That the township appreciates the effort of the ministry to ensure protection of our municipal drinking water sources through science-based protection programs and the ongoing amendments to the director's technical rules and local source protection plans. Many of the proposed changes will better protect our municipal drinking water sources, but will result in a large number of new significant drinking water threats that will require additional capacity and time to identify and manage effectively. The township encourages the ministry prior to adopting any changes to the technical rules, that prior to undertaking any changes to the technical rules, an analysis be done to better understand the number of new significant threats resulting in the changes in the rules and the capacity needed to address them. Where appropriate, the ministry should consider further adjusting the proposed rules so that they align with the overall available capacity for implementation. In the alternate, the ministry may wish to bring forward other adjustments that could free up capacity for redeployment. Our deputy mayor is our representative on the authority, so he may want to speak to this report as well.
Okay, thank you, Martina. The recommended motion is before you. Carl, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I think there's a number of concerns that a number of municipalities and even board members are concerned about with this new changes. And it seems unusual that all these increased responsibilities are coming from the current government. So I think it's important to send in our concerns. And I think it's better to certainly have these concerns raised now than after the legislation becomes the law. So I would support moving forward with some of the things. I think, Martina, if I'm not mistaken, you've already worked with the roads department, and some of the new rules on snow storage probably won't affect us, but some of the regulations could in the future affect us. So I think it's important to move forward with the recommendations.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yep, I did review the proposals that Meredith have sent over, and they don't affect our operations, but they could affect our application of road salt, and they will have an impact on many properties in our township. And some of those properties are small businesses or homeowners, so it will involve additional regulation for them. We want to make sure that their drinking water is safe and will last generations, but we also want to make sure it's right-sized for their needs and our uses as well.
Thank you, Martina. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, and picking up on Deputy Mayor's comments about this government kind of putting these regulations on municipalities. I'm wondering if, and perhaps Martina or Carl, I'm not sure which of you can speak to this, if there has been some dialogue with our MPP about these concerns. I support what the recommendations are and what Deputy Mayor Moher is suggesting, that we need to be on top of this. But I feel like, you know, even just in the community level, has there been any dialogue going on with our MPP?
I'm not sure with the Ontario, with the MPP. However, there has been at Conservation Ontario apparently a fair amount of discussion there. And I think that was raised by the Conservation Authority to discuss further with that, because they have a closer link to the ministers than probably, because they're the experts on water protection. But certainly it wouldn't hurt to maybe at least send a copy, I think, of the resolution to your MPP if it's not already recommended, and it won't hurt.
Always a good idea to let our MPP in on everything that we do. That's his only ammunition.
Yes, and just if I can continue that thought, Mr. Mayor, and wrapping it up, I would actually be inclined, if the recommendations are passing, that we put another motion forward that representatives from Douro-Dummer request a meeting with our MPP specifically about the impacts of this on our municipality.
If you want to tack that on to the original motion, who's going to make that? We can do it all in one. Go ahead, Carl.
I'm not sure that I'm on the board there, but as far as there's a lot of technical detail here that I think we need a further knowledge from experts like Meredith and so on. Certainly I'd be uncomfortable going to such a meeting without at least some representative from the Conservation Authority, because they're the expert on this and they could say yay or nay on various issues. And I think that would protect our MPP going off to the minister or give him more weighting as well. So that would be my suggestion anyway, that we somehow get technical people to provide that support at such a meeting, because I'm not sure I would be capable of being able to move that forward without any kind of credibility with the evidence.
Okay, well, I don't believe we have a motion on the floor, do we?
No, we do not.
No, we don't. So let's have a motion first. And Heather, if you choose to make another one, that's fine. Who would like to make a motion, please?
Go ahead, Heather. Maybe it can
Go
be
ahead.
a friendly amendment.
Sure. No, and that's fair. Thank you, folks. So I do move the recommendations, which I don't have in front of me for the precise wording, but as written, I move that we receive the report with that feedback, and further that we work with autonomy conservation and township staff to ensure that our local MPP is made abreast of these concerns.
That's it. Yeah,
Good
you
idea.
got it. Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Carl is going to be the seconder. Is there any other discussion on that precise motion? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Motion's approved. Okay, back to item 6.1, and that is to receive the October 20th minutes. Who would like to make that? Sheila moves that. And a seconder. Tom? Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? That motion is passed. Moving to item 9.3, that is Clintonia Park. Martina, do you want to review that report for us, please?
Absolutely. So the Donwood Parks Committee had been working on upgrading the play equipment at the Clintonia Park, which is located off of Gifford Drive. They were successful in receiving a grant from the Ontario Trillium Foundation for $67,900 to put towards the playground and parks enhancements, and additional funds were put forward in the 2020 budget to bring the total to $90,000. The Donwood Parks Committee was under the impression that they had additional monies allocated in the budget, as there was a resolution passed by council that the funds from the sale of the Donwood Community Centre would be used to support recreation in the Donwood area. A copy of that resolution was included in this report. Further to that, $25,000 for 3 years was placed in reserves for Clintonia Park improvements to provide a balance of $75,000. The committee worked with DM Wills to assist with the process to get ORCA permits, as the area is located in the ORCA Development Control Area due to the creek and the associated floodplain. Due to these factors, engineered drawings were required for the permit at a cost of $7,950. Further to that, the committee hired DM Wills to be the project manager for the grading works that needed to be done on site to meet the requirements of the ORCA permit and to allow for the safe installation of the playground equipment. The cost for the project management and tendering of the site works was $11,687. DM Wills has received bids on the site works from 2 companies. Both of the initial bids were very high, so DM Wills was asked to review the scope of the bid with the bidders to bring the cost down. As a result of that, the lowest bid of $79,709 was reduced to $71,991.17. This is still much higher than what the committee had anticipated, and this lower cost does not include the wood chips needed for the play area, which have been priced out by staff at $7,900, with the install being completed by township staff. The committee had been laboring under false assumptions regarding the money that was budgeted for this project. The current sunk costs are the fees to DM Wills. The playground equipment has been ordered, but a deposit has not yet been paid. Trillium has provided $69,300 of the $79,000 granted to the township for this project. The council representative on the committee and the committee chair are aware of this report and the issues that have arisen. Council will need to provide direction on whether they would like to release the additional funds to cover the costs of the site works. Some of the cost of the work done by DM Wills will be paid for by the existing budget, but the remainder will need to come from the Clintonia Park Reserve.
Okay.
The financial impact will depend on how council wishes to proceed.
Okay, so council are going to have to decide how you want to proceed. Who would like to speak to the matter? Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the councillor rep on this committee, I will just speak to it briefly. This is something that the committee has been working towards, as the report says, under the assumption that there has been money there. Of course, council did set a budget aside for Clintonia Park. The committee is aware that the funds were also set aside kind of in reserves, and it wasn't ever the intention for the site preparation costs to be this high. I don't know if council had the opportunity to see the documents that were distributed prior to this meeting with the budget, but there wasn't any funds really budgeted for this work. And this is work that's been deemed necessary by ORCA in order to obtain the permits to move forward with the work. And even in early discussions with ORCA and DM Wills about this work, the committee thought that it would be substantially lower than even what the reduced bid came in at. But because of the requirements that were placed upon us by ORCA, it required more cutting and filling that was necessary. So it's an unfortunate requirement that we have to go through. Clintonia Park, of course, has that beautiful creek that runs right through it, and this is part of the watershed that ORCA oversees. So with that, I would like to move that council release the funds that are in reserve so that the committee can move forward with the project.
Okay, any discussion? Tom?
No, I second that motion. I mean, we've already committed that we are going to do this park. We've made good headway getting a grant from Trillium. We budgeted money aside, and we do have the Donwood Community Sale money that we did say we were going to keep in the Donwood area. So if we have to use part of that money, that's exactly what we were going to do with it. And I have full support in going ahead with releasing any funds we need to get this project done.
Carl.
Thank you.
Or that's you made the motion, Tom, right? No.
I think
No,
Heather did.
Heather
I
made-
seconded it.
Sorry. Yep.
Right.
Carl, speak to the motion, please.
I'm having trouble supporting the motion. The engineering expenses associated with altering a wetland is pricey. Engineering and so on is just over the top. Is there no way that the equipment could be installed on the same earth grade as where the existing equipment was housed, without getting into the extensive alteration of the ground there? Because anytime you touch land in a wetland, that's what happens. It has to be engineered. It has to be go through extensive tests. And I guess that's like I think there needs to be maybe some sober second thoughts here. Like it looks like the way we've gone here, I'm not sure there's even an estimate of what drains cost will be yet, but it looks like we've close to could be committing just under 200,000 for this park. And I guess that's my concern is, and I just need more information to support it.
That's close. That's the equivalent of about a 5% tax increase to the township for one park. A little scary. Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Heather. I may be missing something, and possibly Martina would step in. What would be left in the reserves to do with the parks if the required amount of money was taken out of it? Do we know offhand? I mean, without a lot of trouble?
Through you,
Wait.
Mr. Mayor, I can do the math on that, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. I mean, because I personally feel that if the money was put there for that area and for the parks, and there's an opportunity to finish one, that probably that should be done. But I also would be interested in knowing what else would be left in the reserves.
And I do point out that the money we got from the Donwood Community Center was indeed earmarked for the Donwood community as a whole. It wasn't earmarked for one park necessarily. It was always the intent to survey the Donwood community as a whole to find out what it was that they wanted. Maybe it was picnic tables spread around. Maybe it was a memorial wall. Maybe we don't know. This project was one park, but it didn't mean it was to have access to that entire amount of money. Heather. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Mayor. And to pick up on your point and also Councillor Lansman's point, the committee itself goes under the name of the Donwood Parks Committee, not just the Clintonia Parks Committee. And although this report is specific to Clintonia Park, there actually have been other improvements that this committee has overseen. And I'm not sure where the budget lies within, or where those purchases and those upgrades lie within the numbers that have been reported. But if I can just give you a little bit of a visual overview of what's been undertaken and the work that we had kind of done rough budgeting for, Maryvale Park, one street over, this summer saw some significant curb appeal, if you will, in terms of cleaning up that park and doing some planting, and that was purchased through this committee. as well in the equipment purchase that's being budgeted for in this Clintonia Park budget. There's actually some additional park benches which are to be installed in Maryvale Park. And that's all kind of went through as one purchase order, but those park benches are going in Maryvale Park as well. Furthermore, residents and I'm sure council have noticed that there was an installation of a garden at the fire hall in Donwood at the corner of University and County Road 4 and Daleview. That garden was done also through this Parks Committee at the same time the Maryvale Park work was being completed. And that that garden was put in tribute to our frontline workers, and there's some signage that's been budgeted for that for a formal ribbon cutting down the road. And finally, let's not forget Daleview Park. There has been a small amount of money that's been set aside as part of this overall budget to do some minor improvements. As if you recall, this council decided recently, just this past year, to not sell that park. So the committee felt that it would be important to recognize it as a park, sign it accordingly, like every other park in the municipality. So there's some budget or intention to do some signage at Daleview Park to clean up the entranceway a little bit so it looks like an entranceway into the park, and also to install some passive recreation. I believe it's frisbee golf. A couple of frisbee golf baskets are going in that park. So to your point, Mr. Mayor, it is not just Clintonia Park, but this report specifically is addressing Clintonia Park because of the significant budgetary request.
And the point I'm trying to make is, and these are all wonderful projects and great, I'm glad they're being done. The point I'm trying to make is the entire community of Donwood at some point need to be polled to see what it is they want. And I just don't see any evidence of that being done yet. Carl.
Yeah, just one other point too is I'm not sure I have or anyone has the answer. The grading and site preparation, are we grading the whole property, or is it just a small area for where the equipment is going, or what's the extent of the grading, or is it possible to reduce the amount of grading so that it could reduce some of the costs? And the other thing I noticed when I asked for the revenue, in our track record of other community parks improvements, we have not received any actual fundraising updates from this area. And I find that concerning. I guess I just having trouble with this whole thing being supported at this time.
Mr. Mayor, you're on mute.
Okay, final comment, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, just to your point, Mr. Mayor, about community consultation, about, I'm going to say 18 months ago, the committee launched a survey in the community to ask them specifically about improvements that they wanted to see in those parks. And I have the results of that survey, which I'm happy to share with you. And Deputy Mayor Moher, in terms of your question about fundraising, they're actually through the Trillium process. We had committed, I believe there was a commitment of $1,000 in fundraising. I can't speak to the particulars right now because of course we want to continue with fundraising, but we have surpassed that goal with business and corporate donations substantially. And the fundraising committee is anticipating doing a community event in the Clintonia Park. We're planning on doing it earlier this year, but due to COVID are deferring it into spring when people can gather again.
Okay, I think we've discussed this. Sheila?
Excuse me, thank you. Possibly, because I am in favor of finishing the parks. My only concern is what will be left in the reserves after. And I wonder if, could we defer this to the next council meeting and get some more figures? Is that a possibility?
Mr. Mayor, you're on mute again.
I am not having good luck tonight with my buttons, I can assure you. It's one of those days, my goodness. We have a motion on the floor, Sheila, so we'll have to deal with that before that suggestion could be made.
I would
go ahead,
ask
Carl.
for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote, okay? Let's hear the basis of the motion first, Madam Clerk.
Absolutely. So the motion that's before you, moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Watt, is that report 2020-64, dated October 8th, 2020, regarding the Clintonia Park project be received and that council provide direction on the release of additional funds from the reserve. But I believe that was the resolution from the report, but I believe Councillor Watson's motion was to release the funds from reserves. Is that correct?
And Sheila's suggestion is not one that you're willing to add to your motion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, what can we get Sheila, can you tell me
Sheila,
what that
I believe
suggestion was
Sheila,
again? To defer?
Sheila, you were suggesting to defer it until we can get accurate numbers on the balance of the account, et cetera, right? Is that what you were suggesting?
Yes, that was what I was suggesting.
And
like defer till next council meeting.
Till the next council meeting.
Yeah.
Sure. So before I would accept that friendly amendment to the motion, Martina, I believe you were doing some quick calculations. I don't know if you can provide that information right now as opposed to deferring. And I also know that there was a construction time schedule that we're trying to maintain. And so if you have that number and can share that at this point.
So from the quick math I did, there's approximately $144,000 left in the reserves. I would have to do further math to get a closer number than that, but based on the budget that we know exists from the Trillium grant, the reserves, which is the $75,000 that has been put aside, minus some money spent on basketball nets, and then the sale of the property minus the expenses we already know about, that's the number that I've gotten to.
Okay. Sheila, is that satisfying your need?
Sorry. It's not satisfying my need in that is this going to totally deplete the reserves? That, I guess, the bottom line. I'm not sure of the exact figure that is needed to finish this. I've seen so many figures and I can't seem to.
Yeah, it is getting a
them
little
all.
confusing here. Martina, can you clear that up for us, please?
Sure. So the amount available, including reserves, is $321,000. And then after all of the expenses that have been incurred, so the cost to DM Wills for the engineering works, the project management costs, the cost of the equipment, the cost of the site works that need to be done, and then the cost of the wood chips that need to be brought in as well, that would leave approximately $144,000 in the pot for future projects.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was not made clear before. Okay.
I apologize.
No, I just wanted to know what would be left over.
Okay, that has been cleared up. So the motion is on the floor. Did you have your hand up, Tom? I'm sorry.
There was a call for a recorded vote as well.
Yes, that's right. Did you have your hand up, Tom?
Yes, I did. And the main thing was I was going to say Martina was going to try and put something just, briefly together with cost not. So after this whole park, just to make, I'm 100% sure, after everything is all said and done and everything's paid for, we still have just shy of $150,000 still in the Donwood holding whatever for future projects in Donwood, depending on what the area asks for using that money. Is that correct?
That's what it appears to be based on the figures we have in front of us.
And it's basically costing, what, $80,000 more than we thought for this project. Is that correct? Or ballpark?
Yeah, ballpark.
More than we thought it was going to cost. Carl?
Just further on the motion, and I'm not in support of the motion. The $72,000 for grading and site preparation. I don't think I've got an answer from anyone on the fact that what if we reduce that to a third of the grading or a quarter of the grading? Because basically what we're doing here, we're using all the proceeds of the sale of the Donwood Community Center plus the grant to do a project in one park.
There's an opportunity to have this investigated and maybe save some money. Martina?
Oh, I will say that based on the design of the playground equipment and the location of the existing equipment, what was the location of the existing equipment, that was fully in the floodplain. And so that's why it had to be moved, I believe, from my understanding of the files that are in front of me.
Okay. Somebody want to repeat the motion then? That was so long ago, it seemed like last week now.
Would you like me to repeat the motion, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Right, so moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Watt, that CAO Report 2020-64, dated October 28, 2020, regarding the Clintonia Park project be received and that Council release the additional funds from reserves.
Okay, that is the motion. Carl?
I just want to use my second option for speaking against the motion. I'm in support of the improvements of the Clintonia Park. I just feel that we're spending way too much money at this particular park in this community. I'm very supportive of what moving forward. And even on the minutes, I've got some points I want to make regarding certain additional expenses that are being recommended. And I don't think, I'm not sure that I like the direction we're going. We've gone to, like, projects in this area seem to be just going from low to giant. We've already talked to Daleview. It went from a $75,000 project to over 300,000. And now the Clintonia Park is going from a much more reasonable amount to a much higher amount. So I just think there needs to be sober second thought in this.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Sheila?
Sorry, just one last comment, I think. Through you to Heather, has any thought been given to looking at some of the things Carl is speaking of? Or any other changes considered to try and reduce the work and therefore the money?
Certainly the committee, through you, Mr. Mayor, the committee we're really just in receipt of these proposals less than a week ago. And the committee has a scheduled meeting for tomorrow. The committee didn't anticipate spending this much money on excavating, as I had expressed earlier. It was just costs that ended up coming back from us based on ORCA telling the engineers, telling the contractors what was required. We are going to look at alternatives, ideally, but as Martina had suggested earlier, the equipment that was there, I believe, was in the floodplain and it was all removed. So we're really starting from a clean slate of property, so we can't put things in an existing footprint. All of that equipment was removed, and we're just working to comply with what ORCA is looking to do. And the equipment that the committee has proposed or put on hold with the provider isn't anything elaborate or extravagant. And based on the community survey that was done, the community really just wanted to see the antiquated equipment be replaced. So we are keeping costs in mind, but by the same token, as the report suggests, the committee was working with a slight incorrect assumption that there were funds available in reserves for this work, perhaps not all to occur in the same year. So we are trying to balance that, but we're really just working with what's been handed to us in terms of the excavation costs.
Well, regardless where this money comes from, it's $80,000 more than. I'm sorry, Sheila, were you not finished with your question?
Well, yeah, no, thank you. I understand that the money is required. That I do understand. But with being such a short time since the committee found out and since it's so high. Is there a chance that they can sort of regroup and replan the whole thing before funds are put out in that amount? Just wondering.
Sober second thought.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the committee, it's a small committee. They've been in contact with one another quite extensively over the past week since this information became available. There are, as Martina's report suggests, there are sunk costs that have already been invested through DM Wills. So taking a different direction at this juncture could result in amendment fees from the engineers and further delays. The goal with this was always to get the equipment installed this calendar year, and that's still a viable option as of last update from the engineers on this. So yes, we will be looking at it further. If we don't have to spend the money, the additional funds, if we can carve money out of the budget, it's something that I'll be pushing the committee to do. But what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping for, is that the committee, or pardon me, that council will commit to that as a maximum upper threshold, and then allow the committee to move forward with keeping the costs down and doing what we can. And honestly, there has been already a lot of work, as noted in Martina's report, to whittle down those bids to begin with. They came in a lot higher, way higher than what anybody had anticipated when we started going through the bid process. And we're going to continue to work on keeping those costs in check.
Okay, Carl, your hand in the air. Last comment. Let's go on with the vote.
I just want to correct a motion or information there. I heard a couple times how ORCA are requiring this. I just want to make the council aware, here, Mr. Chair, is ORCA are just a representative of the province of Ontario. The Water Conservation Act, Wetland Act is all provincial legislation, and we just happen to be the spokesperson, the members of ORCA. So rather than blame them for the extra cost, it's the province of Ontario that requires this to protect the floodplains of this province.
Okay, we have a recorded vote is requested. Martina, go ahead, please.
Dummer Ward Councillor, how do you vote? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Could you please unmute yourself?
Yes, sorry.
Douro Ward Councillor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor at large, how do you vote?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor, how do you vote?
No.
The
Motion
motion
is
is
carried.
carried. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. 9.4 is the recruitment for manager of recreation facilities. Martina, you're on again.
I am. So this is a report regarding the manager of recreation facilities. That position is currently vacant. With the Douro Community Center having reopened and with ongoing projects taking place, a new manager is required to provide full support to the department. Staff have reached out to the County of Peterborough to see if they could lend their support and expertise to this recruitment process. The Human Resource Department has made themselves available to assist the township with this process. In looking at market data, it will be essential to run an effective and targeted recruitment campaign, as the pool of candidates for this type of position can be limited. And further, the recreation industry is in flux because of COVID-19. It's recommended that efficiencies be found to make this an effective and transparent process. If approved by council, the committee will assist with the recruitment process and act as our HR consultant. Staff are proposing that the hiring committee be made up of myself, a senior member of the management team, and one council member. Throughout the process, council will be provided progress reports via email regarding items such as the number of applicants, how many applicants will be interviewed, and the interview schedule. Once interviews are completed, a report recommending a preferred candidate will be brought back to council. We'll be using the county's electronic recruitment system to accept and review the applications, which saves a lot of time and really simplifies the review process. Further, we'll be benefiting from the county's HR expertise and their knowledge of process and best practices. The recommendation that's before you is that the CAO report dated October 28, 2020 regarding the recruitment of a permanent manager of recreation facilities be received, and that council appoint one member of council to sit on the hiring committee, that the efficiencies and transparency methods outlined in this report be approved. There are some, I'll just mention there are some financial impacts to this process. Those include the services from the County of Peterborough, which are charged at about $100 an hour. The cost of advertising on sector-specific websites, which will range from $200 to $500, and advertising in the local paper, which also ranges in the same costs.
Nothing's cheap. Okay, that is the recommendation, a very detailed report. Go ahead, Carl.
Thank you, Martina, for the information. With COVID going on, and it would appear that it's even heating up even more so. We're just starting the recruitment for a new CAO. I'd like to see if we can limp by until the new CAO is in place so that we can determine whether to proceed here or not, because who's to know what's going to happen in a month's time regarding COVID. We're satisfying our immediate needs now with minor hockey, but if you watch the news reports these days, it's a lot worse in other areas, and if it ever spreads to this area, we're going to be closed down again, and even the one arena, the one community center. So is it possible to somehow limp by until at least the new CIO is in place, and to do what we have to do?
Martina, comment to that?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm hesitant to give you a firm answer. I think that staff are working exceptionally hard to make things work at the moment. If without a manager, many of the higher level tasks are not able to get done because we just don't have the capacity for that. With other management also not being available, it does put a lot of strain on the corporation as a whole. So I would just want to make sure that council is aware of those issues, and that without a manager, especially some of these long-term planning and more strategic goals won't be able to be accomplished.
Okay, fair statement. Any other comments? We have Tom and then Sheila.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have to agree with Deputy Mayor Moher. I was going to actually say maybe we defer this until February or March, whatever, and try and get by with what we have. With the COVID on the go, one arena on the go, I do believe the majority, and Martina, you just made some good points at the upper management stuff, things we have to get done. But I think with just one arena open, and we don't know what's going to happen come spring, come next summer, maybe we only have grass cutting to do because none of our parks will be open, none of the regular stuff that has to be done. And, to get somebody in at major cost right now, we were just talking about cost savings, and that's, tens of thousands of dollars in wages and benefits and stuff like that, that maybe in my mind we can get away with and let the new CAO pick his team. I really do strongly support that.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Sheila, go ahead.
Thank you. I echo what Deputy Mayor Moher says. It's we don't know where tomorrow is going to take us, so we should be able to limp by. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Carl, if you want to make a motion, let's move on.
I would move that we defer it until I guess after a month after the new CAO is in place.
Okay, now I guess nothing wrong with the motion. Should staff have a bit of freedom that if things are frantically not getting done, that they maybe have some freedom to hire a little more part-time help or something just to limp by. Again, it's the same old story. We don't know. Maybe not. But I think they need a little bit of... Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, Carl, go ahead.
I would move to defer it until after the CAO is in place and authorize our temporary CAO to do what's necessary to hire either a temporary person to help out with some of those higher issues that we need to get done. But I think we've got to assume the risk of that, and I'm fully prepared to take that risk. as one member of council anyway.
Do we have a seconder to that? Tom is the seconder to the motion of let's put it off for a while. Is there any discussion on the motion by anybody? Call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. It's different times, I'm afraid. Things are not the least bit normal. Committee minutes, other reports, update on county council matters. Anything to report here, Carl?
There's extensive work that I meant to bring along with me, but it's in another office here at the house. And we're in the near future, we're going to see some work that's probably going to be approved, but a lot will depend on how the discussion goes at county council on Wednesday. Staff are recommending a 2.5% increase in towards infrastructure funding. A big part of that is work in our township, such as County Road 4 from Warsaw Village right through to Highway 28. And that's in 2 different years, and it's because it's got to the level that it has, it's major expenses. Also, there's some drainage issues from the south end of the village on 38 right through to the public school, pardon me, south of the public school that they want to spend some money on. And it'll be an interesting discussion about where this money is going to come from, whether it's through the taxpayers. It's getting money from the province these days is getting increasingly difficult. So those are the major things. Also, I'd like to mention that there was a meeting today with the Parks Canada and the City of Peterborough. More information will come as a result of maybe tomorrow's County Council meeting relative to the closure of the Park Hill Bridge. The emails and phone calls are settling down a bit, but there's still people that are pretty excited. And I'm sure you're probably getting the odd phone call or email as well. I must say that overall today, I'm not sure I had a really warm feeling from what we heard from the city. But hopefully a resolution at County Council tomorrow will maybe put it in more formal terms to the Council of the Day for the City of Peterborough and insist upon alternatives. So we'll see what happens. I guess individuals are having to go through all kinds of extra hoops to get to where they have to go. It's not only a township issue or OSM and Douro-Dummer issue, it's also East City issue, like families that have children at Rima Christian School are having to drive all kinds of extra miles from East City and so on. And it's pretty troublesome. And the impact of business is huge. Just the businesses in our township, I'm sure you've heard from them. And it's how we could have not been involved with this, I don't know. They did apologize today, both the city and the Parks Canada, for not involving us. Like with Douro-Dummer, like we're about 10 feet away from that Parks Bridge, that Park Hill Bridge on Canal Road there. And they just said next time we'll do it differently. But I don't know how it didn't happen this time. Like Martina made a good point at the meeting, was that there's going to be extra snow plowing required on probably the 9th line and the University Road because of all the increased traffic, and Pioneer Road. So the city and then we had somebody come from a city representative that maybe if we found an alternative, it could be cost shared. Well, I guess my point was we've been basically filling in for the city for many, many years by providing the parkway that never got built with the use of University Roads. So we'll see what happens.
We had a very lengthy meeting with them today, and we ended it with a formal request that they come up with a compromise on behalf of Douro-Dummer, OSM, and the County of Peterborough. We made that very clear. We were very aggressive. and County Council will be dealing with it in detail tomorrow, but we will not be pushed around. Okay, thank you for that, Carl. Can we have a motion to receive that verbal report from Heather and Tom? All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. We move ahead to departmental reports 10.2, and we can have one motion to receive them all. For those of you watching, those reports are all available on our webpage and through the eScribe software. So a motion to receive all those reports from staff, which are very much appreciated, and some good detail. Heather?
Yes, Mr.
Heather's
Mayor, I'll
making
move
a
to
motion?
receive all of those with thanks.
And a seconder from Sheila. Carl, comment?
Just a question. I noticed, Martina, you're working on the looking at insurance. Is that a full tendering or is that just looking at our current coverage?
So our contract with Marsh is for 2 years. And so we're in our second year. And so part of that work, there's parts of our policy that need to be let out to other companies to bid on.
Okay.
But our rates will stay similar, I'm hoping. So
Oh,
Yes.
aren't we
One
all?
of the things that came up at the county was that Frank Cowan has been able to provide very competitive rates to the county. And I think one of the reasons they got the tender from Douro-Dummer, I guess a year ago or 2 years ago, they got it within 30 days and they need more than 30 days to come up with realistic prices. So one other comment I want to make, in Jake's report, he mentions Oak Road project has been completed. Oak Road looks great. It's solving problems there that'll solve problems for many, many years down the road. So I just want to make sure that gets passed on. And that was all I had.
Good. Motion is on the floor.
that's correct.
Okay. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Move to item 10.3, Donwood Parks Committee minutes from June, August, September, and October. A motion to receive all those minutes, please. Heather? And Sheila? All in favor?
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, Carl.
One of the, I see them in the minutes, there's solar lights are considered for the park. I guess other municipalities have had difficulties with lights in the park and a place to congregate at night, and they find possibly needles. And that you might want to get more research on that before it's advanced any further, because that's a scary subject for kids if they're having to pick up or find stuff that could cause serious injury or health issues. There was one other point I wanted to make, and that was it looks like there's maybe a new member on the board there, which is great. I think to cover them for liability insurance, I think, Martina, you have to update the bylaw every time.
To add their name.
Yep. That's correct, but that was already done, actually.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay,
That was all.
Heather,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Mayor Moher, just to address your concern about solar lights, it seemed to be a bit of a wild goose chase. Staff brought it to our attention thinking that it was something that we wanted to consider. But since that meeting, and we kind of fleshed it out a little bit further and did a little bit more consultation with neighbors, not just some of the concerns that you rose, but some concerns about light pollution and use of the park after hours, even kids shooting hoops at 11 o'clock at night on the concrete kind of thing. So the committee is leaning away from that strongly. I think there's still a quote request out there, but at this point, it's probably not something that the committee is going to be pursuing.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for clearing that up. Okay, we'll vote on that motion again. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Planning Committee minutes of the 23rd of October are before you.
Move to receive and recommend and adopt.
Carl and Sheila, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. Committee of Adjustment from the 25th of September. Same situation. Sheila moves to receive
Yes.
and adopt, and Heather, you're the seconder. All in favor? All opposed? Motion is approved. We have no bylaws. We have one action item from the Township of Oro-Medonte, and that's a request for support for Mount St. Louis Moonstone Skyline Horseshoe Resort and a hardwood ski and bike for their efforts to declare snow sports, skiing and snowboarding, alpine and Nordic to be deemed essential in stage 2. That is your choice. What would you like to do with that? Receive or support? Slippery slope. Tom, go ahead.
I'm going to make a motion just to receive it, please.
Okay.
With this COVID thing, yeah, it's too scary to support things like this.
Seconder? Heather? All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Information items 13, 1, 2, and 3. These are simply correspondence that we've received. A motion, please, Sheila. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, before you have that, a mover and a seconder, I just want to make council aware that the Trent Lands Plan that is on the information packet,
Yes.
People from Trent will be at our meeting in December to
Over that issue?
dig into that deeper. Yes. So I believe it's the vice president who may be attending, or perhaps the VP of consultation. I'm not quite sure yet.
So we're simply receiving the report.
We're receiving it. I wanted to just flag it for council for future action.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Heather and Carl. All in favor? All opposed? Motion approved.
I'm sorry, what did we just approve?
Just to
Just the information items.
receive correspondence. Yep. Accounts to October 14. Any questions from anyone? Motion, go ahead, Tom.
Motion receive and pay.
Seconder. Heather. Discussion. All in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. Any notices of motion? Seeing no hands. Any community announcements anyone wants to make? Sheila?
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, it's not exactly a community announcement, but if we could put on the next agenda as an announcement of the parades of the past that will be taking place on December 1st at the beginning of the council meeting. And also if it could be on the item for on the agenda for December 1st as an item.
Okay, I'm sure staff can handle that one. Has anybody got a problem with that?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds good. Note to self, Martina.
Yep, I got it.
And where are we here? My goodness. We have no closed session. That's going to be it. Confirming bylaw 2020-60. Tom and Sheila, all in favor? All opposed? Good. I wonder if the U.S. election will be handled that easily tonight. And a motion to adjourn. Heather and Carl, all in favor? All opposed? That motion is approved. That concludes our meeting tonight. Thank you, everyone, for dropping by. I apologize again for the technical mishap at the beginning, but if it can happen, it will. So we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. And thank you very much, everyone. Please stay safe. Thank you.
Bye now.
Good evening.
Right.